to tie it into our Parsha, because in our Parsha too, the Parsha is Savo, it's about when you come into the land, the land that Hashem gave you, and then you will inherit it and you should settle in it. And it goes on. So there's different teachings on this, including a teaching from the Baal Shem Tov on it, that maybe if we have time we'll look at, the way to connect with the Parsha. But incidentally, the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov on our Parsha was not said during the physical life of the Baal Shem Tov. It was channeled to the fifth Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Ber Lubavitch, during Chai Elul, that's this day, in year 1892. That he heard then, and around that time, 7 Torahs from the different the Hasidic masters, and there was the teaching from the Baal Shem Tov that he heard. And maybe we'll look at it soon. But in general, it speaks about the first mitzvah is that when you settle the land, you grow produce, you should bring the first fruits to the temple, even before you bring the truma that you offer to the Kohen. You should, first thing, even before that, you bring, it's known as bikurim, first growth produce and what have you. And then you go and the high priest takes it in its basket, lifts it, and there's a certain supplication saying it mentions the Exodus and other elements, the whole ritual thing. So this idea of coming to the land, settling the land, is brought down in Chassidus. I mean, there's a lot to talk about it, just as an aside. So coming to the land means our soul coming into this world. So there's the way the soul comes into our body also. There's the way it is coming down into the body. So there, it's still the way it is channeled down. So it comes in, it's affecting our body, but it's not necessarily being on the lowest, most detailed level. It's when we settle, not just arrive to the land, but we begin working and settling the land and what have you, then that is integrating, functioning, and permeating the land itself. And the land is also the word for ratzon, the willpower, and mitzvah, being a favor and being quick, like running, that is the soul coming into the body to do the work that's needed in the physical world. That's why we're born into a physical body and placed in the physical world to do this physical work of our spirit soul in our bodies, right? So this is the idea that there is the way it's still more highlighted from the soul perspective, more general way, but then there's a way that's been more integrated, meaning more unified in the details of the body. And as it explains in Chassidus, that the body has 2 main parts of it: the force, the chayis, the life force of the soul. Again, it's Chai Elul, day of chayis, of life, day of the birth of Hashem and the Alter Rebbe, which is why it's all interconnected with life, birthing, and how the soul enters the body and unifies. So there's the general chayis energy from the soul. That's called chayis aklali, and that is the same, or almost co-equal, from head to foot, right? The soul energy that's of life force and all of everything, that which makes our body alive. So there's the general part of the soul force in our bodies. But then that's chayis quality. Then there's the chayis prati, the detailed, let's say, the power, the energy, life force of our eye. That's in our eyes is different than in our in our fingers, right? There's a specific function of eye to see that requires a specific articulation, precision of the life force to be for the vessel of the eye. It's different from the hand or from the ear, what have you. So that's the chayis prati, the detailed. So there is the process when our soul comes into the world in a more general way, But the real work and the real way of unifying that becomes part and parcel of our physical body when it comes into all the deep particular parts of our bodies and our physical world. And once that is unified and it's done in a way that the soul refines the particulars of our physicality, that is when the purest of that merging and unifying unity is. Okay, and that is ultimately the aim, the objective of the whole reason why our souls are in a body is to bring and reveal that it is all one. The unity of the soul and the body is to show that it's all that it is that which seems like they're so opposite each other. One is just pure spirit, non-physical. The other is purely physical. Yet we say they're now one. That means we're revealing the divine itself, which is beyond these opposites, right? So, so that is this on the soul level too. These two levels of how much we're in having an effect in the physical world. So it's also connected, and that's why it says not only you bring the fruit products, but they were in baskets. It means baskets. It's like different vessels. So it's like the fruit being the light, was all in their specific designations. So that some say it's actually the tena. By the way, tena, the word for basket, is tough nun aleph, is gematria 60. Some say you would give a 60th over for the bikurim. Also, bikurim is also the first fruit is also a reference to souls of people or Jewish people, what have you, and because we were there from the beginning of their all creation, and we're also known as the firstborns, B'nai B'char Yisrael. So, which is also word for B'char, Bikurim, what have you. So it's also reference that we are returning to our very original state, a pure state, and it's this time of year too. It's connected to this time of year. Of time with Elul and Tishrei is a time of bringing in the work in not just more abstract and vague, but into the details. Both the Elul, Cheshbon, and Nefesh that we work through all the details, especially at the end of the month now, and also into Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. That is how we truly reveal things. Is when you're into as they say, not the devil is in the detail, but the divine is in the details. Okay, that should be the right phrase of it. So mamish, that's in our parsha, and that was also the whole Baal Shem Tov way was also to bring it down into the world and merge and be the whole idea. One of the innovations of Chassidus is the emphasis of avoda begashmis, the work in the physical world, and then there was also, and with Melava Malka too, as we spoke about last week, there was there's the physicality of the loose bone which was the only one that did not benefit from the tree of knowledge and only benefits its sustenance from Malava Malka. That is the origin. That's the beginning of the recreation, regeneration of the physical body for resurrection, and that will animate the body, meaning even not only just the body itself expands from it, but it reactivates the soul itself too. That means that the loose bone is the point where there's the most merging of the bone, of the physicality of the body and the soul, which is also why it does not decay, because it is like the soul is eternal. The loose has even when the body is no more alive, it still carries within it, and albeit on a dormant level, the soul. on some level in the news book. Okay, do is like this. I'll share a story of of the Baal Shem Tov and Melava Malka. Okay, I'll tell you why, because I'm going to look into different texts about the extra soul that we're given for Shabbos. There's what's known as the Neshama Yisera, the extra soul. Okay, that now it's its own subject in a way. Okay, so story time, everyone. So here's the story. And this is a story, both of them, as mentioned before, the three Lav Dafkas, but this is Dafka story. It's a story about the Baal Shem Tov. It's a story about Malava Malka, and it's a story about people's about the way it affects certain people's physicality and even finances. Parnas, basically. Okay, so here's the story. And also, this will be a story that will show why Malava Malka is so valued, and we'll also see from the story how it connects with what we were learning until now about the luz and the soul and all that. Okay, so here's the story. The Baal Shem Tov had a student who was a great Talmid Chacham, a great scholar, very and learn, both learned and pious, what have you. And he was invited to become a rabbi in a certain town. He was there, and he was very successful. He built it up, and everyone, and he was like recognized, and he was seeing success. And as time went on, he was becoming more comfortable in his role. And so one day he's learning, and it was a really hot day. And he ran out of water. The water, he needed a water carrier to bring the water. He just ran out. And we couldn't go, didn't have time, didn't have whatever to go to the well and all that. So he looks out the window and he sees that there's a water carrier going with the buckets of water. So he calls out to the water carrier, "Hey, come! I would like some water." The guy ignores him. He calls out even louder. The water carrier ignores him. He runs out of the house, goes after him, ignores him. Finally, he gets up to him, and he goes, "A chutzpah! How could you ignore me? And I'm not just anyone; I'm the rabbi of the town." And he gives him a patch in the punnet, gives him a smack for being disobedient to the rabbi of the town. And you have to have covet, honor, and this is the opposite. You make fun of, you weren't responding to me. What happened? So that is episode number 1 with it. Episode number 2 is there was a meeting for the finances of the town to fundraise for a certain project of the town, for different things needed in the town. So some of the people in the meeting, some of the people of means said, "Yeah, we'd love to give more," or they were demanding people should give more. So we'd love to give more, but we actually give a certain part of our money, tzedakah, to this so and so poor person who used to be a great scholar, Talmid Chacham, but and even had money, but who is a great scholar, had money, but lost his money, and we've been supporting him. And we can't, we don't want to give up giving him tzedakah. To which the rabbi answered, "No, guys, the tzarech tzibur, as it's called, the needs of the community, of the collective, overrules the needs of the individual, the private person. So therefore, no. I say you have to give to our projects, even at the expense of this poor family." And that's what started happening. People started giving less to that family, less, until eventually it even became less worthwhile, even for the gaveh, the tzedakah, to even take any few pennies and bring it down. That's how little there was left. So basically, they stopped giving money, and this family started going poor. So above in heaven, there was a big kittur, I guess you say, there was a big uproar about this. That look at this rabbi, I mean, a student of the Baal Shem Tov, and that he could behave, he could hit a water carrier, and he could make a poor Talmud Chacham even more hungry and take away money and food from him. He is to be punished. Something that is worse than death. What could be worse than death? It's that to shmat, to convert. And therefore, I'm going to send down a power that he's going to have an impulse to go and to convert. And that is what happened. This was on Shabbos, and right on Shabbos, right after Shachris and Shabbos, the Rav of this town, takes his talis off, and almost like hypnotized, not knowing why, he just walks to the parish at the end, in town, the other side of town, knocks on the door. The priest answers, and he tells the priest he wants to convert. The priest is excited. Not only does the Jew want to convert, which is such a rare occurrence, but the rabbi, the town himself, is all the more. So he invites him in, gives him his own special room and some food, and even gives him some alcohol to drink to relax before they get ready for conversion. And he drinks and he eats, drinks, or whatever he does, he passes out drunk. Meanwhile, it's already the afternoon, and all the way, hundreds of miles away, in Mezhebush, the holy Baal Shem Tov, was sitting with his students to have the holy Shalashudas meal. And they're sitting around the candles, lights are going out, it's getting darker. And one of the things Baal Shem Tov had, in addition, as we know, had putting the arms around the students, and they would have a psychic experience together. Another thing Baal Shem Tov would do, Shalashudas, is he would scan all the people he knew, particularly his students, and to see, even if they weren't there at the table, Shalashudas, with him physically, but he would tap in with them psychically. As we said before, the Baal Shem Tov's one great thing was to be mentally connected with things and people, and if that's where you are, and he to go and to see how his students are, even if they're hundreds of miles away, wherever they are. And so did the Baal Shem Tov, and he was scanning his students all around. It comes to this good Rav of this town, and he can't find him. Normally, you could find him in his town, in his community. He's looking up, he's looking up and down, up in heaven, and down there, and nothing. Can't find it. He's like disappeared off the soul chart map. No, where is he? He went undercover. What's the word? He went dark shadow or something. It's called stealth, right? Yeah. So what happened? So then he goes up in heaven, and he hears what happened. There's two things that this student did to poor water carrier, to the poor Talmud Chacham, and that's why he's destined to do this. Baal Shem Tov is trying to persuade them above, but don't you realize he really just meant it? He didn't really mean it, and he's this and that. But he said no. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Baal Shem Tov. No. He said he's gonna have to go through his Shema. Finally, at the end, Baal Shem Tov remembered that the student was one of his great pet peeve mitzvahs was to wash his hands and to have a meal of Malava Malka. So he said, for Malava Malka, maybe for the schus, the great merit of him being so careful to have Malava Malka every Shabbos. Maybe for that, we could take off this gzeira of Shmad. Remember we read before, in the letter about the gzeira Shmad, that means that we force a Shmad, but the people wouldn't Shmad in the letter and they could be killed. Here is exactly the opposite, that that person will actually give into the Shema. And we'll explain why soon. So be it as, so here he said, so Baal Shem Tov is beseeching, maybe in the merit of him keeping this, of this Rav keeping Melava Malka fastidiously, therefore he won't have convert. To which in heaven they think about it and they say, you know what, Baal Shem Tov, you have a point there, maybe, but not just because of the past. No, it has to be that now that this Shabbos, this Motzei Shabbos, he's going to make Malka. And if he does that, then he won't. So what happened was, meanwhile, with all the contemplation, everything happening, the Shalshudas of the Baal Shem Tov already went after sunset Shkia. It was already after the 3 stars came out in heaven. The Baal Shem Tov goes, and he takes 2 challahs that are on the table. He calls one of his students at the table. He tells him what the name is. He's calling Wolf, Zev Wolf. So they'll take these 2 challahs. I want you to go out the door. Say Baruch Hamadim Kashachal, make Abdallah quickly. Take these challahs and walk out the door. He didn't tell him where to go, who to see, nothing. Just take these 2 challahs, walk out. The student, Chassid, being real, faith in his Rebbe, takes the 2 challahs, walks out of the clay, the shtibel of the Baal Shem Tov, walks down to Mezhebush, the streets, and just a block or 2 later, before you know, he's walking, and whoop, before he knows it, he's in another town, and he's walking in another street, and he's not far from a parish. Basically, he had kfitzat haderech, the warp speed travel. You know, usually the stories of kfitzat haderech we hear the Baal Shem Tov and others is with a wagon, the horses let go, the horses ride. But here was a special form of it, that the kfitzat haderech was pushed with feet walking on the ground. It was like, you know, it says with Yitzchak's time and the other that it wasn't as much that, this is an interesting concept here. The kfitzat haderech, skipping the road, that quick magic travel, was not that as much that the person or the animal, whatever, moved quickly like at Superman speed, but it was rather that the earth underneath folded up. That's the term. Underneath, it was like the earth underneath quickly but crunched up under, so a place ahead was now here already. Okay, it's an interesting counterintuitive way to look at it. Anyways, but this chassid has kfitzat haderech, and near parish he walks, and he winds up at a parish. He still doesn't know why he's there. He goes, he knocks on the door. And the same priest answers the door. It's already dark after Shabbos, right? Now the priest sees another Jew, and he's elated. And the priest goes, wow, he assumes this is another Jew that wants to convert. Why would a Jew ever come to his parish? And 2 in the same day, there must be some fad, there must be something in the Kiddush that day, or whatever you want to call it. It must be the thing now for Jews to convert. And he's super excited. So here's another Jew. He says, oh, you're here? Great. And he takes him into the same room where the Baal Shem Tov's Rav, that chassid, his student, the Rav, is there, passed out. And he goes in, and now the door closes. Now they're alone together. And the second chassid with the challahs turns to the chassid, wakes him up from his drunk stupor, and he tells him, here, I have challahs for you to wash, to eat Malka. So he goes. So the guy goes. The Rav says, "What are you talking about? Don't you know I'm about to convert? I don't know why, but I just have this feeling I have to convert. So why should I wash? I'm not going to be a Jew soon anyway. So who cares? Why should I wash Malka?" So the chassid, it seems like Reg knew the other chassid. He knew his greatness of how much he adhered to Malka. And he starts convincing him, telling, no, but don't you realize how much you love Melava Malka and how you wouldn't give in to by hook or by crook, you'd always wash Melava Malka. Basically, you're still not a guy yet. Let this be your last thing to do as a Jew, and that's it. Let it just go out that way. Convinced him to do it, and which he did. The chassid washed his hands, and as soon as he ate the bread from that the Baal Shem Tov divined the power gave to we give, which had infused with Baal Shem Tov's powers, he ate the challah, and suddenly, right away, the Rav had totally lost all interest in Christianity. In fact, was shocked how he could have even thought so, and he just wanted to leave and be part of Baal Shem Tov. So he wanted to go straight to Baal Shem Tov. But he didn't know how to do it. He told him, how are we going to get back? So the chassid who did the Kfitz Tadarach travel said, you hang on to my gartel and you come with me back, like in Back of the Future, right? The professor tells Michael J. Fox, you just hang on to me, you come on my side, and we'll be able to both time travel together, right? And that's what happens. They sneak out of the parish without the priest noticing, and they go weep back to the Baal Shem Tov. Make it back in time, but the Baal Shem Tov is still finishing up it's still sitting at the Shalosh. So for them it was very Melava Malka, the two sins by Baal Shem Tov and the exchange, and that is how this chassid returned and became better, and that is also connected not only with Baal Shem Tov student but with the meal of Melava Malka. And the way I understand it somewhat, also it's connected to what we were learning last week and a little bit this week, that again, that Melava Malka is the special meal for resurrection, and resurrection on a physical level. So of course, the ultimate like loss of everything is death, right? That's physical death. But on some level, for the soul, at least, worse than physical death is spiritual death, right? That understood. If there's just the body death, so then the soul is actually released and it feels better. That's more. But if it is the soul carries the death element to it, so then it's way more difficult, harder. So more than physical death is spiritual death, which is in this story way is conversion. So in that respect, that was. So to reinforce, to undo anything of death, especially spiritual death, had to be doing a physical thing of bringing back that spirituality to the physicality to prevent the spiritual death. And that is why it was only through the meal of Malka that leads to this level of ultimate resurrection, not only of body but also of soul. That is also connected with the things of going into the land and the eternal and the life, and also speaking about Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, that their teachings are eternal, and leading to the Mashiach, who's of resurrection eternal. And just like we spoke about the two parts of in the life force in the body, whether in general way or particular. Same thing, Chassidus, we could say the Baal Shem Tov's birthing and bringing the light of Chassidus to the world, was in the general way that affects everything, but in a more general way. And the Alter Rebbe brought it more in a deeper, particular way, both through mind, Chabad, and even through the other faculties of self, more in a detailed and integrated way, that we could say. So that's why it's all connected, and that's also the teaching of our Parsha, especially transforming the curses into blessings, as we've spoken about multiple times. And there's other parts of the Parsha, and also the end of the Haftarah is about Kumi Ari Erech, rise my light, come to light, that our light and God's light become one. These are also the two lights. The Alter Rebbe's name is Shnei Or, two lights, and these are also two lights, the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, the two lights of Chassidus, that at least from this angle. More. So we'll carry it over for next week. We're gonna focus more on the Melava Malka and things about Elul that we've been holding back. So we have been speaking about Baal Shem Tov and Alter Rebbe in relation to being an Elul. In short, that their work, the work we're doing in Elul, is also the trajectory of the work of Chassidus as taught from the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. Maybe we'll flesh that out more next week. And in general, more on Elul, just in time before Tishrei, okay? And Rosh Hashanah. Okay, Laila Tom Varach. Good Shabbos, Jonathan. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Steve. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Dana. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Dorit. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Danny. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Yossi. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, everyone else who tuned in tonight. Good Shabbos.